Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we rebuild my knackered engine.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh.
Of everything. And I get a new hairstyle. To start with, we drained the oil out of the engine and then we removed the propeller so we weren't banging our heads on it, and then we could start disconnecting everything else. With the prop off, we disconnected all the fuel and oil lines, the bonding leads came off, and then we disconnected the carb heat and the cabin heat. We also had to take the exhaust off, otherwise the engine won't come past the frame. So then we took the weight with the hoist and we started undoing the bolts before lifting the engine off and taking it back to the workshop. While we had the engine off, the panel needed an upgrade. The paint was tired and the tacho needed replacing, it just didn't work. So we undid the 4 bolts holding the instrument panel in, disconnected the instruments, that was just a tacho, and taking the pipe off the airspeed indicator. And then we disconnected the oil pressure and oil temperature gauge before removing the actual panel. Then it was time to start stripping the engine. The eyebrows, intake and oil tank all had to come off, but in the interest of not making this video too long, we didn't video that, so we're just undoing the cylinder nuts ready to pull them off.
Yes. There you go. Oh. Yeah. Oh dear. Oh.
Of everything. That might be part of the issue.
That might be why you're having trouble. Broken ring. That's not ideal.
But the compressions on that are so high.
I know, but that's why you're getting oil by. And interestingly, that's a back cylinder, wasn't it? Okay, that was the. Was that the really lean one? No, you've taken that one off. What's the ball like? What's the ball like? You've got a scratch floor.
Oh, I can't see.
Get the lighting.
Don't look amazing, to be fair.
Oh, there we go.
Scratch at the top.
Oh my god, feel that.
I can't see everything. Oh, bugger.
Oh,
we've got a nice lampshade.
That's a scrapper. So you've got a broken ring, and in there you've got a scratch, which is terrible.
Do you know I said we need to get it out before it fails?
Well, yeah, you
I was actually right. I don't need another one.
So that's that. Well, it's nice to find a problem. Right, if you can see that in there. Oh, that is really scuffed up. Let's have the light.
Well, I've always wanted to put a light bulb in a cylinder for fun.
So yeah, it's really hard to see, but that
it's not good.
Is not great at all. Lights everything's in the way. So there we go, onto that. Yeah. You can feel it now?
Oh, I can feel it.
It's really scuffed.
It's horrendous.
So anyway, so that's the problem. So this engine kept fouling up plugs
and it was getting worse.
And every time within 5-10 minutes, you'd be fouled up another plug. So it was just hopeless, really. And we thought maybe it was because we were slow running it with the other aircraft, which runs a bit slower, but turns out that's not the case. So anyway, so we've got that. So the cylinders, we've got fresh cylinders, haven't we?
We've got fresh cylinders.
Which luckily came off the spare engine, which are actually superior ones, so they're really nice. And they've all been sent away, honed, and they're all in good order. They're in a paint shop, so they got to go on to that. So most of this we're probably not going to use, are we?
Yeah, maybe just
push rods. We need to measure them and find out what.
We've got 2 sets to choose from.
Yeah, so we'll have to work out what we need, and then we found the The pins
The absolute nemesis of the job.
in the rod are. Can we get
I don't
that?
know if you can see that. There's quite a bit of play.
It's quite a lot. Well, we measured them, and as a bit of a rough measurement, there's about 7 or 8 thou of play in there, and according to the book, we're only allowed 2.1, and I think we're allowed 4 at a max. So we're going to have to pull the rods. We're going to have to order some bushings, and we can't reuse the conrod bolts, so they've got to be replaced as well, because they're only allowed to be used once. And we're going to have to suss out what bearings we've got in there and get a set of bearings. So bearings, bolts, and rods. And you might as well, because both your sets of pins are a little bit worn. So why don't you get a set of pins? And then we've only got to do it once. And that's what it is.
It needs doing.
It needs doing.
It's just the fact it will take a while.
Well, yeah, I know, but anyway.
Yeah.
That is kind of what you're up against when you're doing this stuff. Do we need artistic? Oh yeah, look at that. We'll edit that in. Great. Good job we can edit, or you can.
We need to learn to edit.
I ain't got time, I'm too busy making films.
You don't have time.
That's time.
You only work 4 days a week.
I know. The other 2.5 days a week I'm trying to build stuff.
I have to work 5 days a week to try and build stuff, do the editing, do everything else. Is that okay to organise multitask?
Apparently, yeah. You see, us blokes can't do that. We've got enough trouble trying to breathe and walk. I mean, it's hard. They won't come off anyway, they'll be glued on.
They look really nice.
Of course they are. Well, luckily that one's in 2 halves, so you'll be right with that one. It's already been ruined. Move. Oh, yeah, it's going. So then back the other way. Back coming off, and then you might be able to get your little driver in there now. Oh yes, look at that. I've done well. See, my teaching methods are exemplary.
Snap it on. I always try to not snap it on for a reason.
Little gentle persuasion is nothing wrong with that. Engines aren't built with hammers. No, it's not broken.
Yeah.
Why was it? Those are magic metal in there.
I don't know.
So they got. Oh no, they haven't got the rings in, have they? That's okay, then that's easy. You know how to do those. Do those later. Right, update. What have we found?
Everything's wrong.
Well, yeah, it's an old engine, we know that.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's why it's apart.
We've got a
Busted ring. So that's why we've got oil coming up past the cylinder. Busted ring. But can we see inside the bore? Because that is pretty spectacular, I have to say.
To be fair, that could have been bad.
Yes. I think we ought to do that maybe next. So what we'll do then is we'll I think maybe at this point take the oil tube off so nobody gets stabbed by it.
I have taken my eyes out.
Yeah, take that off. We'll lay it upside down. We'll undo the crankshaft plug. So in the end of the crankshaft, in there, there's like a what?
Hubbard.
Oh, Hubbard plug. Is that the official name?
Official name.
Official name. So we've got a Hubbard plug we've got to take out, and we're supposed to periodically inspect the crankshaft for internal corrosion, because the crankshaft on an airplane is hollow. It's not solid like a car one. So it's a bit lighter, and obviously they love to corrode internally. And the periodic inspection on this was last done in
1994.
1994. Okay, so nice and regular.
Yes.
Okay, so we better have a look at that then.
Recommend it.
My crankshaft, well, to be fair, it wasn't my airplane. It wasn't my airplane one. So there's an entire article on my particular engine as to why you should periodically inspect your crankshaft. Now, mine is the earlier crankshaft, which is the tapered crankshaft, the correct crankshaft. We'll just put that out there. And they have a long keyway about this long in the end of the crankshaft, and it had a spiral crack all the way around the crank, which was really actually unnoticeable apart from oil coming out from the front. I didn't know what that was, but it did sort of eventually the keyway started to move, which set up vibration on the propeller, which is when they knew they had a problem. So they flew it back, I think, from I want to say they come back from Leicester, I got a funny feeling. And they managed to get back to Old Sarum. Yeah, they got pretty well way home. They never had it, she let them down. The old Sterling engine gave them. Yeah, so even when they're knackered, they will still work. But anyway, so that's why these inspections have to be done, because, you know, things do wear out and corrode, especially when, you know, a lot of this engine in particular is only probably done sort of 10 hours a year for the last 20, 30 years. Yeah, and so it's never really been apart. And of course, it got bought and put on this aircraft because the other engine had a crack in the crankcase. You know, and there we go. And that engine's only done 300 hours. And when you got that apart, there's still things wrong in that. And that was, so say, rebuilt by a professional company. So, you know, all this stuff really is just, you don't really know what you're buying. Even when it's built, so say, properly, you really don't know what you're buying.
So the paint stripper is on and it's already bubbling up. We were just going to rub it down a bit, but the paint on it's so terrible, and if we rub it down and then paint it, it will last like a month and then it'll be peeling off again. So we thought we'd do the job properly, put some paint stripper on it, and it seems to be working really well. With the paint removed, I set about cleaning the areas around the bolts with the Dremel, and then I started prepping the case for paint. And with it painted, I set about changing the case bolts because it just looks really good with new shiny bolts. I know some people may be concerned with the case being shiny black because you can't always see an oil leak, but we've done a few engines like this now and we've never had an issue. And quite frankly, if you give your engine a proper look over on a regular basis, as you should, it's not an issue. So all of the bolts are now in the case and all torqued up, and they look really good. So now we're going to get on with the hydraulic lifters. We've got to take these out, clean them, and we've got to make sure they get a bit of a rattle. If there's no rattle, they're no good. So we'll do that, and then maybe try and get the oil tank on, and then it's pretty much the case finished. And with the hydraulic lifters service, the pushrod housing can be refitted with new gaskets and nuts. The oil pickup line can be fitted and wire locked, and the oil tank can go back on again with nice new shiny nuts. Then it was time to start rebuilding the carb. It started leaking with the fuel on, but not when it was running. So we took it apart and we found the float needle assembly to be worn. There's a seat that wears, and that must have been what caused the problem. So we gave it all a good clean, we replaced that part, and then we put it all back together.
just wasn't expecting that. After doing that one, they're reasonably good, and after I've machined that other one out, I was like, blimey, you put them in from the bottom, they seem like terrible. That's what
I've really done it from the top.
That's what made me notice. Oh bloody hell, what's the matter with that? Why is that flopping around in there like a brick in a bowl of that? I mean, I know you could argue that when they're in there, they can't really go anywhere, but that seems way too much to me. You have a little wiggle of that.
Camera's got to go the way.
Seems a bit excessive because you put the inlet in. And there's no warning on this yet. But
I know, but it shouldn't be flopping around.
If you feel the inlet, it feels much better.
That's what it should feel like.
Yeah.
They're going to be doing that then.
We've got this far.
At this point we discovered the exhaust valves were worn, even though these cylinders had only been overhauled supposedly 400 hours ago, which is not a lot, but they still needed replacing. But we could still measure all the cylinders up to make sure they were still good after being honed, and then we could measure all the ring gaps. While we were waiting for the exhaust valves, the carb, intake and airbox could all be reassembled and ready to go back on. Then, just when we thought we'd had all the parts we needed, we tried the new exhaust valves, only to find out the guides also needed replacing, but these were all out of stock in the standard size, so we had to order the oversized guides and then machine them down to fit. But finally the cylinders could go back together, so I left Andy to lap the guides in and fit the new springs, as it's an absolutely horrible job and I don't fancy losing any fingers. With the con rods back from NDT and having Bush's machine to fit the new pins, we could refit them with new bearings and bolts, and then they were all split pin ready for the cylinders to go back on. Finally, the spark plugs could go in, the intake tubes and the exhaust could go on, ready for a test run. The final step was to time and fit the mags, and then we could drag it out and run it.
Throttle cracked, throttle's just whatever. Sounds more promising.
Clearly that was not running right, so we decided to check the mag timing, as it definitely sounded like an ignition problem.
Good, mags on. He's not happy. So we're going to tell him what we've done. So we let the professionals, right, these little leady things on the top, we let the professionals do that, and they've managed to bugger the job up since it wouldn't run properly. So they're all flipping numbered backwards. Anyway, we've gone back to basics. We've had the mags off it again, and we didn't need to. And now it's going to be perfect. Yeah, anyway, right, let's go.
You realise you've got to do it properly. Contact.
Keep on oil pressure. To be fair, we've had good oil pressure, to be fair.
I've been too busy.
Yeah, I kept a bit of an eye on it. Alright, so go on that blade.
Right, throttle crack. Mags
time.
on.
4. That shouldn't be pissing over too much. Okay, all good.
Yep.
Mags on.
And finally, with it running properly, we took the exhaust off, loaded it onto the transport stand and took it to the airfield. All that was left to do was to hang it on the aircraft, fit the exhaust and reconnect everything, although both of us forgot that the silencer won't fit on the engine after it's hanging on the airframe, so Andy had to take the downpipe off in order to get it in. And after about 4 months, it's finally on the aircraft and running, and after sorting a couple of teething problems, it's back flying and no longer fouling up plugs.
All that time with the fuel off.
That's 1 minute and 20 seconds. So basically, for
Take off with the fuel off.
yeah, that's slightly scary. Anyway, right, mags are off. We should be good. We've got no oil leak up in there now. That little thing was leaking, so that's sorted. We've got exhaust is good now. Yeah, look, that's all good. So that's not blowing out. A little bit of dollop just to take off of there. So that's good. All your scat hoses are nice and tight.
Oh, interestingly, my carburetor drops higher now.
Huh?
My carburetor drops higher now.
Oh, okay.
I was only getting 80, but I got 100 and something this time. That's better.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I think actually the holes in the scat hose obviously makes a big difference.
Oh, yeah, well, we do. Yeah, well, now you've got all new scat hoses on. They're little all new shiny hoses.
Running it, thinking, "Oh, that's not as good as it used to be."
So, right, well, there we go. Let's just see how do you get out of the piper cub carefully. Is that it? Is that this video's complete?
I think it's sorted. I can get in flight now.
Oh, flipping it, you just jinxed it.
Probably.
So this is the end of the video.
Probably is the end of the video.
Well, you better, I don't know, thank everybody for watching, and please watch our other videos if you feel the need to be bored for half an hour on end countless times.
You've just done it for me. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
and we'll see you again.
When I get round to editing another video.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, yes. And are we not nearly at like 1,000?
989 subscribers at the moment.
There might be a few more by the time this gets to them. Well, that's very good, and we actually do really appreciate that. That's really kind of everyone to do that for us. So yeah, obviously, I don't know, if you like what we do, leave it. I know some of the airplane stuff's a little bit niche. Maybe the car stuff's a bit more. Oh, is the sun out? I know we're not used to it. We haven't seen it. Anyway, so yes, right. sign off,
Thank you for watching.
and we'll see you all again
At some point.
at some point.
I'll get on with it.
Lovely, thank you.